The TVWAN News is proudly brought to you by
BSP, our bank, our people.
Good evening, this is TV1 News. I'm Maricela Kelaton.
And I'm Terry Longwood. Join me later in the sports segment.
In this edition, CSOs query government funding for GEWE. SO is struggling to pay dividends. And former Wallabies arrive in PNG. The Papua New Guinea Immigration and Citizenship Service Authority has taken a significant step towards enhancing cooperation and security along its borders. On Tuesday at the ICSA headquarters in Port Moresby, Chief Migration Officer Stanis Hulahaus and the Solomon Islands Permanent Secretary for Foreign Affairs and External Trade Colin Beck signed an MOU on immigration and border security cooperation. Hulahau emphasized the importance of this partnership, stating that it would foster closer working relationships between the two sister agencies. Under the terms of the MOU, the ICSA will extend technical assistance to the Solomon Islands Immigration Division. Notably, this assistance will be crucial in processing and facilitating athletes, visitors, and heads of delegations for the upcoming 17th Pacific Games in Honiara, scheduled for November this year. The United States Indo-Pacific Command have gifted the Papua New Guinea Defense Force with personal protective equipment worth over 15 million kina. Admiral John Aquino, commander for the Indo-Pacific Command, handed over the PPE to PNG Defense Force Chief Major General Mark Goina. On Monday, May 22nd, the commander for the Indo-Pacific Command, Admiral John Aquino, arrived at the Papua New Guinea Defense Force headquarters in Murray Barracks, Port Moresby. He was received by a half guard on the parade grounds and then proceeded to the Kumu Leadership Center for a presentation of personal protective equipment. It was a significant ceremony signifying the support of the Indo-Pacific Command at the cost of $4.5 million, over 15 million kina. Admiral Aquino handed over the PPE to PNG Chief of Defense Force Major General Mark Goina. The gifting of PPE by U.S. Indo-Pacific Command to PNGDF marks a significant milestone of both the forces' enduring relationship. More importantly, through this gifting, it ensures duty of care to PNGDF servicemen and women who are on operations are accorded and appropriately knitted with personal safety protection. The PPE includes ballistic helmets, flak vests with armor plates, elbow pads, knee pads, and eye protection. The Papua New Guinea Immigration and Citizenship Service Authority has signed a Memorandum of Understanding with the Solomon Islands Immigration Division to enhance cooperation and security along their borders. The MOU includes capacity building, technical assistance and border security cooperation between the two agencies. The agreement aims to serve as an example for other immigration agencies in the region, with a focus on addressing travel and security concerns and implementing trade-in services policies. As part of the MOU, the ICSA will provide technical assistance for processing participants of the 17th Pacific Games in Honiara, including the development of a travel app for visa applications. The partnership signifies a significant step towards strengthening cooperation and border security. It was mandated by the 11th Parliament to review current approaches to addressing gender equality and women's empowerment. This led to hearings for the Permanent Parliamentary Committee on Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment today. The 3-day hearing is for the committee to review current approaches to addressing GEWE, gender-based violence, and sorcery accusation-related violence across the country.
The Permanent Parliamentary Committee on Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment has been mandated by the 11th Parliament to review current approaches to addressing GEWE, gender-based violence, and sorcery accusation-related violence across the country. The 3-day hearing will give ample time for the committee to hear the progress of the civil society organizations that are related to GEWE. Chairman for the Parliament Committee on GEWE, Powes Pakop, stated that the hearings aim to review the institutional and policy approaches that the government currently has in place to address GEWE, GBV, and SARV.
We are committed to prosecuting this agenda at our level in Parliament to make sure that we have oversight on these very important issues and agendas so that we get traction and we get real tangible progress going on in our country.
Civil society organizations from around the country and agencies from abroad were present for the first day of hearing.
In the last Parliament, we pushed for the Special Parliamentary Committee because we need to get traction on this important national goal so that our country, our people can have a sense of achievement and purpose. And not only that, but all our citizens, especially women and girls of our country, equally benefit, equally participate, equally, have their rights recognized, and they can be part of our journey together.
Through the hearings, it will allow the committee time to produce recommendations for improvement for the consideration of Parliament, ministers, and the National Executive Council. Jasmine Eru, TVWAN News.
Hearings of the first group of civil society organizations led to questioning the government funding that was allocated to addressing real-time issues in gender-based violence and sorcery accusation-related violence across the country. CSO representatives gave their perspectives on issues relating to GBV and SARV in front of the Permanent Parliamentary Committee on Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment today.
Questions were raised whether or not government funding from last year ever reached the civil society organizations that was allocated to support real-time issues in gender-based violence and sorcery accusation-related violence across the country. Representatives from different CSOs gave their perspectives on issues relating to GBV and SARV in front of the Permanent Parliamentary Committee on Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment today. GWE Committee Deputy Chairman Alan Bird questioned CSOs that were on the panel from Voice for Change, Family PNG, Tribal Foundation, and the Divine Word University. When we requested the funds, it was very specific. We had expectations as a parliament, and I think every member of parliament had expectations that the 7.93 million kina allocated would find its way to organizations like yours and ultimately find its way towards assisting actual victims. Tribal Foundation Operations Director Ruth Kisam shared that the government fund were never received due to disconnection. This was also agreed by other CSOs.
That way, that policy that we're talking about that is implemented by civil society actors gets to be well coordinated. We have a very good policy that can work. It's just that it's not funded. And it's also parked under the right department, but it's not getting the money that it is supposed to be getting.
She added that there needs to be a secretariat for direct connection with the government and the CSOs. Kisan added that most CSOs rely on raising funds and own pocket money.
We go from within the country, outside the country. We go everywhere looking for money. We raise the money ourselves. We do fundraising. Good people like yourself also fund us because you see the need in this space. But when it comes to the funding that is allocated, budget that is allocated by the government, we don't. Because once the money gets into whichever department that it goes to, it doesn't go to the traditional partners that have been working in this space, and Tribal Foundation being one of it.
It doesn't go to the frontliners like
no, it
yourselves.
doesn't.
We were not of the opinion that those funds would be spent by public servants for whatever purposes that they thought they should be spending it on. This year we have almost 10 million kina allocated again, so we would like to hear from all of you.
I would like people like you to tell us how we should be spending these funds. I don't expect a public servant sitting in an office, flying off to places like England and having a joyride with all these allowances to be accessing those funds. I expect those funds to get to the victims. We expect that these funds should be benefiting those who are ultimately at the end of the line.
Jasmine Eru, TV1 News.
The Special Parliamentary Committee on Health Matters is in the East Sepik Province to visit provincial health facilities. Committee Chairman and member for Pomio, Elias Kabavore, is leading this visit. The committee will also establish whether or not the Provincial Health Authority is providing the required level of services prescribed in the National Health Services Standards.
The Special Parliamentary Committee on Health Matters is in the East Sepik Province to look at the state of provincial and district-level health facilities. The committee will also establish whether or not they are providing the required level of services prescribed in the National Health Services Standards. Committee Chairman and Pomio MP Elias Kapavore said he has been given instructions by the Secretary for Health to get an update from all 22 CEOs in the country of their performance in their respective status of Provincial Health Authority. The committee says they are struggling with many CEOs not doing the right thing. Since visiting the NCD Central Health facilities like the Port Moresby General Hospital and Gerehu Health Centre earlier this year, East Sepik Province is the second. Kapavore said many Level 5 hospitals can learn from the East Sepik Province. The WIWAC Specialist Hospital was constructed and fully equipped with state-of-the-art medical facilities, a fine example of what a modernized hospital should be. Chairman Kapavore encouraged the hospital management to build on the positive teamwork, strive and provide accessible and quality health care to the people of East Sepik. He added that the East Sepik PHA is among few performing PHAs in the country. The hospital was built by VAMED at the cost of 210 million kina and comes complete with important diagnostic facilities such as a mammogram to aid with early detection of breast cancer. It boasts a comprehensive antenatal ward, labor ward, operating theatres, postnatal ward, gynecology ward, intensive care unit, a kitchen to serve quality meals, an administration block, an accident and emergency, radiology, outpatient, pathology, laundry and additional inpatient wards. The committee visited Maprik Level 3 Hospital today. On Thursday, they visit Ambunti Level 3 Hospital. It will continue its nationwide checks of health facilities and make recommendations to improve health services. The committee aims to present its report to Parliament in the June session. Salome Vincent, TV1 News.
You're watching TV1 News. Stay tuned for more after the break.
It was during and after COVID that really motivated me to want to take up life insurance. I think savings is very important, and I think One Talk Delight provides a disciplined approach to savings, and it's a good investment to want to think about the future, because it's always nice to have plans for what you want to do later on.
With you for life.
Whether we're playing sport, exercising for fitness, being active for work or play, just having some fun, or just chilling, there is one name we can count on that we know will keep us going strong. Skell Rice. Healthy, nutritious, delicious medium grain rice full of vitamins and minerals. Skell helps us maintain a healthy, active lifestyle so we can enjoy every day.
Skell Rice. Skell Life.
Hiya, Mama. You wait time, but me add him special flavor.
Put in more flavor, put in more taste. Magic kakaru, get up a big smile on face. Time for give chicken a great food too.
Magi, the taste PNG loves.
Our journey starts with you. We'll be there from the start, right through to your life's adventures. We'll ensure comfort and make your safety our priority. We'll take you to memorable moments, no matter where it begins. And we'll get you there like we've always done. The 4th generation coaster bus, more than just a bus.
Right across the nation, we eat snacks crackers. Emi trupla. All get a young planalapun, only like him snacks crackers. Only make him here, no PNG, one time lay biscuit company. It's crunchy and tasty. It's irresistible.
Get ready for a mouth-watering dive into the wild with Mike Robinson.
Look at that! Good job. Ow!
It's the ultimate catch and cook.
I have noticed that you have not gutted it.
I tend not to gut it.
There's so much flavour.
That's stunning, to be fair.
You know, we're enacting what our ancestors did. It's in our DNA to do this.
Fishing the Wild. A brand new series coming soon on Outdoor.
Meet best friends Bossy and Turtle. Whoa. Bossy is the kind of bear who likes to dive right in. For Turtle, it's one step at a time. They may be different, but when they're together, they have the best adventures ever. Oh! Don't miss Bossy Bear, the brand new show. Starts June 26th at these times on Nick Jr.
Welcome back. The Finchafan and Mumeng groups involved in an ethnic clash in Morbe's Warrior district have reconciled and signed a memorandum of understanding. The event took place at the Nami Primary School field on Saturday, May 20, between the Kandes of Finchafan and the Kapin people from Lekwara in Mumeng. The Kandes rubbed mud on their bodies while the Kapins rubbed black ashes. Armed men proceeded to the front of the grandstand and laid down their firearms and other weapons to signal the start of the peace process. The fighting that erupted on March 26 last year led to loss of lives, destruction of properties, and hundreds of families displaced. Meantime, the two groups exchanged rice, garden food, and pigs to successfully conclude months of peace negotiations between the leaders of the warring tribes. Church leaders of the Body of Christ member churches today acknowledged the state our country is in terms of economy, politics, and social conditions of the people. They have agreed that a strategic prayer program is key to address these issues. The National Unity Prayer Conference will be held in Port Moresby from June 8 to 11th at the Sioni Kami Memorial Church and Tabernacle of Prayer Church, 6 Mile, respectively.
Body of Christ Church leaders have taken steps to bring the country back on its feet in prayer, and they have invited a servant of God, Apostle Julius Suubi from Africa, to come and hold a unity prayer conference.
But we would like to organize it as a nation to pray around the country together and organize altars of prayer centers around the nation. So we will launch our prayer strategy after this meeting on the 11th of next month.
The BOC leaders said the Unity Prayer Conference from Thursday 8th to Sunday 11th June will be the start of organized prayer centers around the nation. According to Chairman Reverend Joseph Walters, it is a strategic event called PNG Unity Prayer Conference 2023.
And calling the churches in the country and the general public as a whole, calling those in leadership, in politics, in the bureaucracy, in the churches, in the communities, to participate one way or another in this very turning point strategic unity prayer conference.
Reverend Walter said the man of God from Africa is coming by clear prophetic direction with a message that is earmarked for this nation. Meanwhile, head of the Christian Missionary Fellowship International, Pastor Ezekiel Obed, shared an example of how important he sees prayer.
Prayer is the key to transform a nation or to bring about changes, transformation in the nation. Back then, during the national election in Papua New Guinea, I was deeply hurt with what I was seeing. It was the worst election that has ever happened.
The National Maritime Safety Authority is currently carrying out a national awareness and consultation workshop on the merchant shipping bill with interested stakeholders. For Medan Province, it started on Monday, May 22 and ends tomorrow. The Merchant Shipping Bill 2023 is a legal policy reform targeted at improving the compliance regime of the current legal framework, the Merchant Shipping Act 1975.
According to the National Maritime Safety Authority, the proposed merchant shipping bill is formulated to solve the issue of outdated provisions within the current 50-year-old Act. The Merchant Shipping Act 1975 has been revised to address low fines and offences that are no longer deterring unlawful activities effectively, thereby creating an environment that is less conducive for maritime trade. The workshop will provide an opportunity for the stakeholders to appreciate and comment on the proposed legislation, which is intended to address current and emerging trends, including threats to maritime safety.
So the good thing about the external consultation is that it's bringing the practical experience to the table. So when we're discussing the provisions that we at NMSA have discussed and developed over the years, we find that with the practical input from the stakeholders, we see that we can now refine it and capture and ensure that the provisions are relevant with the current practices that the industry is facing, and also practical in terms of going forward as well, and the longevity that we're trying to aim in terms of how the bill is going to go from here. So noting that it's 50 years now, almost 50 years, it's going to have to stand the test of time again in order to, have a big reform like this again. So we are mindful of all of these approaches. So going around with the consultations and having the input that we are receiving, it's very beneficial to the work.
This consultative workshop aims to strengthen the proposed reform for the maritime transport subsector. The bill will only be passing through 5 out of 15 maritime provinces. East New Britain, New Ireland and Morobe provinces have been completed. NMSA will head to Milne Bay and finally to Port Moresby after it leaves Madang. Acting Executive Manager for Maritime Administration, Paul Along, said the bill will be available online for other maritime provinces who would like to review and comment. The workshop is being attended by various stakeholders, including RD Tuna, National Fisheries, Madang Provincial Health Authority, the police, and students from the Maritime College. Salome Vincent, TVWAN News.
Many state-owned enterprises are struggling to pay dividends to the government. Commissioner General for Internal Revenue Commission, Sam Koim, shared this today at the Press Club in Port Moresby.
Commissioner General for Internal Revenue Commission, Sam Koim, said at today's press club that it is the tax component that is funding the national budget, with 80% coming from IRC. Mr. Koim said the first 2 years into his appointment was the focus point to strategize on the way forward in terms of tax collection.
IRC contributes about 80% of that, and we are placed all over the country. About 24 branches in 21 provinces. But there are some things that we've done, and I think it's something transferable lessons that I think can be learned. When I went there, something personally that I probably may have not spoken about is I went there with zero tax knowledge. So what I went there with is I asked everybody, my direct reports and everybody else, who had the knowledge, and I started acquiring knowledge. And in the process, I also interviewed the very frontline officers those who come into interaction with the taxpayers, frontline officers. And I tell you what, some of the most workable solutions were suggested by those frontline officers.
Mr. Koim also admitted that there is still a lot of tax leakages that IRC is yet to address. All will soon be addressed. He also clarified that tax evasion is an issue that's a work in progress to tackle.
A lot of challenges still existed. We have a lot of, and I saw some of the questions, a lot of leakages, a lot of challenges that existed, and some still do today. Firstly is the leakages through tax evasion. There's a lot of tax evasion compared to the taxes that we're collecting from what we're supposed to collect. There's a big gulf that still exists, and reducing that takes a lot of effort. So we've identified a lot of leakages. Some of the low-hanging areas where people just take advantage, like unverified credits, they could just take into IRC. People, inflate invoices whatsoever, take into IRC. IRC never checks it. They just process the returns, process the refunds. A lot of leakages happened.
Freddie Mo, TVWAN News.
The IRC Commissioner General mentioned at today's press club that the IRC is undergoing surveillance reforms to produce good productivity within the organization itself.
Papua New Guinea is a very challenging country. When we try to identify a taxpayer who claims that, gives the address and says that Section 20 Lot 80 Goroka. Where in Goroka is Section 20 Lot 80 in Goroka? You can't find Section 20 Lot 80 in Goroka. You can search the entire town for Section 20 Lot 80 in Goroka. So the fundamentals upon which you can run some basic taxpayer identification have been flawed from the beginning. So identifying taxpayers as to who is operating under what TIN number, doing what business where, remains a big challenge for us. So we've done a massive taxpayer mapping exercise. For the NCD leg of mapping will be done in the next 2 weeks' time. And we've identified people who have been operating and not paying taxes. So that's one of the things that we've done, but still remains a challenge.
This is TVWAN News. We'll have a look at what's making headlines overseas after these short messages. Stay tuned.
There's a sense of pride when you're able to do something right, a financial decision that has just really good benefits. With BSP Life Insurance, there's that alleviation of that worry when you pass away. The benefits of the BSP Life Insurance would meet those expenses on behalf of my family. If you're young and you have kids, you owe it to your children to make sure they're not left behind when you pass on.
With you for life.
He says the best Hunters players come from his region. So does she. But there's one thing that brings everyone together. SP Lager, Bunyamyumi.
From the rich soils of the highlands, the finest coffee has been grown by generations of Papua New Guineans. Expertly blended and roasted with over 80 years of experience, making the finest cup of Nescafe New Guinea blend. PNG's own coffee.
All One Talks adds some excitement to your festivities with the Flame Easter Bonanza. Win a slice of a whopping 300,000 kina by purchasing the Flame Family Bundle Pack, which includes rice, sugar, flour and vegetable oil, all in one go. Highlight these goodies on your receipt and scribble your full name and contact details on the back and pop it in the entry box in selected stores across PNG. 4 fortnightly draws, 100 winners, 3,000 kina each. You don't want to miss out. This promotion ends on the 31st of May. Flame, strength and energy. Terms and conditions apply.
Tired of sniffing, sneezing and congestion? Stop popping pills that don't help. Get essential vitamins found in nature through these supplements that are formulated to reduce the symptoms of common colds and flu. Boost your body's immunity with these supplements that provide a protective shield against nasal congestion, sneezing, mild bronchial cough, and sore throats. Walk into a city pharmacy and pick up a bottle of Nature's Way Garlic Plus C and Horseradish or the sugar-free Cenovus Sugarless Vitamin C tablets and say goodbye to sickness. Available at a city pharmacy near you.
At TISA, we've been a common thread in the lives of Papua New Guineans for 50 years. Not for profit, not for charity, but for service.
They travel by land, by water, and by air for hours or even days, facing the most extreme conditions imaginable. To these students, it's more than just a walk to school. It's a test of survival. And they do it every single day. The most dangerous ways to school. All new season, coming soon on Outdoor.
Welcome back. In news overseas, Cook Islands Prime Minister Mark Brown has welcomed the United States' increasing involvement in the Pacific. Brown, who is also the chair of the Pacific Islands Forum, made the comments in the U.S. Pacific Islands Forum Leaders Dialogue in Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea on Monday. He states that the meeting was a demonstration of commitment to continue to strengthen partnership and building on the very successful first U.S. Pacific Island Countries Summit in Washington, D.C. last September 2022. Brown says it also provides an opportunity to consider a number of key updates and necessary actions on issues of key importance. He welcomed the active engagement and joint advocacy of the U.S. with the Pacific Islands Forum on priorities such as climate action, development financing, and security. Cook Islands will host the 2023 Pacific Island Leaders Forum from 6 to 10 November in Rarotonga. The Marine Rotational Force in Darwin has begun its first training for the year exercise Crocodile Response. Partnering with the ADF and the Indonesian National Military, the trilateral operation sharpens the ground skills in humanitarian assistance and disaster relief.
Season in the top end, and the US Marine Rotational Force in Darwin is ready for action.
It's been a while. We're excited to get out here in the field. This is our element.
The group's first training exercise of the year is taking place over 3 weeks at Mount Bundy, south of Darwin, where they're partnering with the ADF and Indonesian National Military. The mission? Disaster relief and humanitarian assistance, as part of exercise Crocodile Response.
The reality is the most likely mission we'll confront, if history is any indicator, is a disaster relief type of mission.
We see every year that we're doing more humanitarian assisted disaster relief on top of our normal operations.
The military forces arriving in Darwin after a week-long training camp, hosted by the Indonesians in Bogor.
We're very, very enthusiastic to take part in the academic phase and the rest of the training as well.
The ADF testing out a new water purification unit, outputting 100 litres of clean water every hour. The Marines, with a much bigger unit, not to be outdone.
We know that it'll go 200 gallons an hour. That's the goal.
One of the major capabilities testing out at today's exercise is the Roll 2 medical tent. Now here you can see it's very easily manoeuvrable. It's able to be set up in 45 minutes. They can do early patient assessment at these beds here. And if we move over into the surgery room, there's a capability to perform surgery on up to 2 to 4 patients before resupply. Despite the recent Defence Strategic Review putting a cloud over the military's role in disaster relief, the ADF are still committed to humanitarian assistance.
In the ideal world, yes, the Defence Force would not do as much of this, but until there's something in place, we will be certainly a key component of any first response to that HADR.
Countries working together, preparing for the worst.
Australia's defence chief has launched a fresh attempt to revoke some military honours awarded for service in Afghanistan following a damning war crimes inquiry.
The General has been quietly going about implementing the recommendations of that Brereton inquiry from November 2020. Now, you'll recall there was a push to strip the meritorious unit citation from the Special Operations Task Group. That was overturned by the then Defence Minister Peter Dutton. But since the change of government, the Defence Chief has been given permission to again look at some of the other recommendations, including command accountability, and that's what we're referring to today. We've learnt, the ABC, that in recent days some letters have gone to a small group of relatively junior soldiers who were in command positions, so we're talking about majors and lieutenant colonels at the time. They've been informed that the Defence Chief has now examined their cases and will be recommending to the Defence Minister that their honours awarded during the Afghanistan conflict should be cancelled. Well, veterans groups on one hand are not happy. There's a group of these associations that are today demanding that the government overturn General Campbell's latest move. They say that there shouldn't be any action taken until these war crimes allegations pass through the legal process and are heard in a court of law. But the government, for its part, is just acknowledging through a Defence Minister spokesperson that Richard Marles has received the recommendation and he's now seeking appropriate advice, and that there will be no further comment while that's going on.
A police promotional video appears to show officers violating the rules over the use of handcuffs on children. The film was released today, described as a real and raw insight into the challenge of youth crime.
10 months. The film contains never-before-seen internal police footage.
The ground! Show us your hands! On the ground! On the ground, all of you! Arms behind your back!
A roadside arrest. A young girl willingly gets out of the vehicle.
Under arrest, unlawful use, and out of the vehicle.
One of multiple scenes of children in handcuffs. The police commissioner was asked if she could recall the rules for handcuffing children.
Probably not to the letter of the law, but certainly it has to be reasonable.
In fact, police rules state that an officer is not to handcuff a child unless the child cannot be controlled by other means.
I just have really bad anxiety.
That's okay. So you're doing the right thing by behaving yourself, okay?
The police did not have the power to handcuff that young girl because she appears to have been fully complying with their oral instructions, and there was no risk of her running away from the video footage that's shown in the documentary.
I am confident that my police are trained, know the law, know the operating manual.
The film also explains why some children are more likely to get into trouble.
If you look inside a brain that's been traumatised and have a scan of the top part of the brain, they just don't have the same level of blood flow and oxygen to that part of the brain.
The film insists police have a greater willingness to use discretion rather than just charge children, something advocates say they are not seeing on the ground. The film also highlights police efforts to prevent crime and address social disadvantage.
The police have come up with their own solutions about how to tackle the problem. Well, hello, let's get back to community justice.
Big business holiday homeowners and landlords will bear the brunt of the Victorian government's debt repayment plan set out in a high-tax and state budget today. Billions have been awarded to health and education, but the savings must come from somewhere, so under a 10-year COVID repayment plan, up to 4,000 bureaucrats will face the sack.
It's a budget that targets the top end of town. Tim Pallas delivering an unforgiving solution to Victoria's debt crisis.
Our plan is temporary, targeted and above all responsible.
That plan hits big business with a national payroll of more than $10 million with an extra 0.5% levy on wages. It'll be an extra 0.5% again for those with a salary bill above $100 million. The policy will raise nearly $4 billion in 4 years.
We know some did better out of the pandemic than others, and it's only fair that those that did well contribute to the repayment effort.
And that will unfortunately result in job losses.
But it's Victorian property owners that will be slugged the most as part of a COVID debt repayment scheme. In particular, landlords, businesses and people with holiday homes will pay on average an extra $1,300 each year in land tax.
This is a tax on renters.
380,000 properties will pay land tax for the first time, including apartment owners. It's caused panic about rental affordability.
Under no circumstances should that be passed on to tenants.
It was a horror move, and there's nothing in this budget, unfortunately, to increase supply.
Foreign investors who don't live in their Victorian properties will pay more under a vacancy tax, raising more than $1 billion.
The COVID debt levy will raise $8.6 billion in COVID debt offsets over 4 years. It will end in 2033.
4,000 public servants will also be sacked.
We haven't seen cuts of this magnitude since the Baillieu government. Services will collapse, and the government has learnt nothing.
But the state's wages bill for the public sector continues to grow due to the recruitment of more frontline workers. The government assumes unemployment will increase in the coming years, while it believes there will be a significant drop in inflation. Despite the COVID repayment plan, Victoria's net debt continues to rise, climbing to $171.4 billion in June 2027. That's nearly a quarter of the state's economy. And the state's still running at a $4 billion deficit. It won't be back in black for 2 years.
Budget of mean contradictions. Higher taxes, higher debt, less investment, less jobs.
Like households, the state has been whacked by interest rate rises. Interest repayments for the next financial year are already going to cost taxpayers $15 million a day.
And that ends the news segment. We now have the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. This is TV1 News. Sports is next with Terry. Stay with us.
Without a doubt, you care for your loved ones. You want to keep them safe, whoever they may be with, wherever they may be, in the home or facing the world outside. Don't let anything stop you, not even bacteria. Protex helps protect your skin with natural extracts. Boosted with flaxseed oil, Protex helps eliminate 99.9% of bacteria for healthy skin. And with the power of natural goodness, you're ready to play every day. Protex, for the good health of your skin.
Remember the joy of playing with your toys as a child? At Money Plus, we believe that every small business deserves a chance to build and grow. That's why we offer asset financing. Mipla halivim wari belong you.
At TISA, we've been a common thread in the lives of Papua New Guineans for 50 years. Not for profit, not for charity, but for service.
HP and Theatres are proud to announce, for every purchase of any HP A3 managed printers, you will receive a free, yes that's right, free Talk 3 kVA UPS, and it doesn't stop there. Theodist is giving away 3 times top-of-the-range HP X360 series laptops, which are worth 25,000 kina. And your company could be one of the lucky winners. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity. Shop with us today. Terms and conditions apply. Theodist, proudly serving you for over 50 years.
The bees are buzzing.
Nau mai, haere mai, ki te whenua.
Welcome to the land and skies of our ancestors.
From our mountains and our seas.
From these grounds and waters of Australia.
And Aotearoa, New Zealand. We welcome the FIFA Women's World Cup 2023 to come and play at ours.
Welcome back. In sports, 2 PNG Kumul's prospects will be making the NRL debut for the North Queensland Cowboys against Parramatta Eels this Friday. Zach Leibat, younger brother of Kumul's 5'8" Kyle Leibat, will debut at centre, replacing Valentine Holmes, who is out on state of origin duty. Robert Derby on the wing will be in place of Murray Tuilagi, who is also in the Queensland Maroons camp for Origin. Derby made his debut for PNG Kumuls on the wing against Fiji Bati in last year's Pacific Test, which PNG won 24-12. They joined Melbourne Storm duo Justin Olam and Xavier Coates in another wing-centre pairing, as both players have been killing it time in the Host Plus Cup competition for the Townsville Blackhawks alongside Sylvester Namo. Gulf Komara Football Club has initiated Kids Football Development Academy program to create a pathway in which kids can grow to become good citizens in the future while embracing football. The program has attracted 150 children throughout the city in the first of a 4-part training series.
The Gulf Komara Kids Football Development Program allows children to have early exposure to football. The targeted age is 6 to 8 years old. Exposing children to football at this age is crucial because once they reach their teens, they will have enough experience and clear knowledge of the sport. Gulf Komara believes programs like these are very important for the code of soccer in the country in grooming the next generation of players on the production line of football. Program manager Tokaravu Digi said those in the football fraternity know that football pathway is non-existent and needs to be addressed. The Kids Football Development Academy program not only targeted on-field success but provides an avenue for off-field benefits, including developing children into respectful citizens as they move through social, technological challenges in their youth. Digi thanked the Gulf Provincial Government for the financial assistance in this program. She hopes the team can have support for other organizations and like-minded individuals who want to promote a peaceful society through football. This program started last Saturday as a first of 4 parts. Cycle 1 will be running for 4 weekends. The Kids Football Development Academy program is held at St. John Guy Stadium on Saturdays. Registration for Part 2 of the cycle will commence once Part 1 is completed. Rex Litter, TV1 Sports.
on Friday, May 19, stands exactly 6 months away as Solomon Islands anticipates a grand opening ceremony of the upcoming 2023 Pacific Games. The world will witness the opening ceremony of the first ever Pacific Games to be held in Honiara, Solomon Islands. The country looks forward to hosting an exciting event and in doing so, welcoming 5,000 plus athletes from 24 Pacific Islands and territories come November 19 to December 2nd, 2023. The much anticipated sporting event has gathered exciting and anticipation amongst Solomon Islanders, both within Honiara, the provinces, and internationally. The Games Organizing Committee says preparations have intensified in the past few weeks, adding that progress is still on track. Former Australian Wallabies Will Genia and Matt Giteau are in Port Moresby for a two-day coaching clinic at the Sir Herbert Murray Stadium. The visit is being organized by CRU under naming rights sponsor Pepsi and MoneyPlus.
The two Centurion Wallabies rugby players touched down at the Jackson's International Airport this afternoon and were met by personnel from Capital Rugby Union and major sponsor on behalf of CRU President Corey Chand. Scrum half Will Genia and Matt Giteau last played for the Wallabies at the 2015 Rugby World Cup, where Australia lost to New Zealand All Blacks 34-17 at Twickenham, London. Giteau made his debut for the ACT Brumbies in 2001 and the Wallabies in 2002. During his time, he won 2 Super League titles with the Brumbies and part of the Wallabies at the 2023 Rugby World Cup. Giteau announced his retirement for rugby union with the Man of the Match performance in 2021. Coming to Port Moresby is a first-time experience for the former Wallabies utility back. When asked about how much he knew about rugby union in PNG, this was his reaction.
Willie's invited me along, so I'm excited. It's a lot warmer than in Canberra at the moment, so it's nice. I had to clear it with my wife, make sure that she was okay. She's back with the kids, but yeah, a really unique opportunity to come here. As I said, I've never been here, so super excited. Well, I knew that rugby league's massive here. They love the rugby league. So we're trying to get rugby union up to the same kind of popularity.
PNG's prodigal son Will Genia said his family relocating to Port Moresby is good for the code. CRU, through Genia's strong bond and camaraderie with Giteau, was the real chemistry for the trip to PNG.
Foremost, he's a good person, and he's someone I always admired and look up to as a rugby player, but also as a person. And I just knew that someone like him would be able to come back here and make a big difference from a rugby perspective, but also with all the knowledge and experience that he's gathered over the course of his career to be able to help the athletes from a mental perspective and, help them as people as well. And so I'm real grateful that he's made time to come. He's got clearance from his wife and he's able to be here.
The two-day coaching clinic with selected players, both men and women from the 10 clubs affiliated to Pepsi CRU, starts tonight at 6 p.m. to 7:30 under lights at the Sir Herbert Murray Stadium. CRU President Corey Chan said CRU was grateful to have the two Wallabies legends in Port Moresby to share their knowledge and expertise in the game with our players and coaches.
Hekari United FC returned home this afternoon after the Oceania Football Confederation Champion League playoff in Vanuatu. Hekari started off their campaign on a winning note, beating hosts Vanuatu 2-0, but could not maintain their winning form, going down to New Caledonia 1-2 and again 1-2 to Tahiti in the playoffs.
The young Hekari United FC outfit returned to Port Moresby this afternoon after attending the Oceania Football Confederation Champions League playoff in Vanuatu. According to team manager Voni Capinato, with the club going through a rebuilding phase, it was a good learning curve and experience for the young boys playing at another level, the Oceania Football Champions League. Upon arrival this afternoon, Voni was happy to express how proud she was of the boys' performance, regardless of the outcome.
Honestly, I'm very proud about the team. If you can see, we have a very young team compared to other teams to compete against the champions and national teams of Vanuatu, New Caledonia, and what's the other team again? And yes, and Tahiti. 1-0 and 2-1 is, to me, it's a good result for us. I believe this competition have helped our young boys, not only for our team, but I believe for the national team ahead of them. For the Pacific Game can be a great help for our country, and we just encourage the boys. We just need to work hard.
Vonnie said they will take a lot of positives from the trip and continue to work hard to be better. She said it is not going to be an easy road, with other clubs also working hard to get to the next level.
You can see PNG had a lot of good teams coming on to the National Premier League. Our only goal now is to work hard, continue to keep our discipline, focus and concentrate, and see how we go in this National Premier League. But I have great confidence with these young boys. Back for training, because our NPL is in the 17 or 13. We have to play, we have to prepare. We just give them these few days, then Monday is full swing again, while I'm going to concentrate with our women's team for the Champions League in here.
The team goes straight to the training paddock in preparation for the upcoming National Soccer League this June.
Australian National Rugby League legend Mark Carroll will officiate as guest speaker at this year's SP Awards, set for this Saturday, May 27 at Crown Hotel, Port Moresby. Former Australian pro boxer Jeff Finnick was initially earmarked to officiate the awards, but due to his health, he won't be able to make it.
SP Brewery Corporate Affairs Manager John Ilcara said rugby league great Mark Carroll will officiate at this year's SP Awards night as guest speaker. Ilcara said that Mark Spud Carroll was one of the toughest players during the peak of his career in the 1990s, and it's an honor to have him officiate on the awards night. Ilcara said as originally announced, Jeff Finnick was looking forward to come up. However, due to his medical conditions, he is unable to attend. Carroll played as a prop for several NRL clubs in the 1980s and 1990s. A Penrith junior and a member of the club's 1987 reserve grade premiers before joining South Sydney Rabbitohs in 1990. Carroll was consistent and one of South's best players. In 1994, he moved to Manly and was part of 3 consecutive grand final appearances, 1995 to 1997. At the end of 1997, he left Manly to play for the London Broncos, but the move was unsuccessful, citing homesickness was the reason for his return to Australia. Carroll rejoined South Sydney in 1999 and became an important part of the club's early resurgence. Carroll's international career gained a boost in 1995 when he was selected for Australia against New Zealand. The result being he became a member of Australia's victorious World Cup in 1995. Other international appearances included against Fiji and PNG and the rest of the world over the next 2 years. He was forced to retire at the end of 1999 season due to chronic knee injury. Today he is still a committed South Sydney supporter. Carroll has since gained notoriety as the international bodyguard of actor Russell Crowe.
And that's our sports segment. Mary.
Thank you, Terry. That ends another edition of TV1 News. Pleasant viewing. Bye for now.
Bye.
The TV1 News was proudly brought to you by BSP, our bank, our people.